Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to MLW Vault. I'm your host, Balin Weisel. Thank you so much for tuning back in here. And we have a full episode for you as the biggest video of the MLW offseason has officially arrived today, and that is in the 2024 official MLW draft. So in this episode, I screen recorded my desktop, plugged in my mic, and recorded my live reaction to every single draft pick, everything that went down. If you haven't watched the draft yet, you should be sure to do that, but this is also a good way to experience it first. I will link the draft in the description of this episode if you have not watched it. It was super high quality video. They keep getting better and better. It was a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to react to live. So that is a little bit later. But before we do get started, we're going to jump into a quick around the league. There hasn't been a ton of news besides like everything that went down in the draft. And then we're going to start a new game time episode. So let's jump right now. We're going to waste no time. Let's jump into around the league. So we're not going to talk about all of the draft news because that's for later in this episode. But one of the bigger announcements the past couple of weeks have been the announcement of 2024's opening day. It is going to be a World Series rematch between the Eastern Eagles and Metro Magic, meeting live at the Meadows in late April. I think the video comes out the first Friday in May, if I'm not mistaken. That could be wrong. You could fact check that. But it is Eagles Magic, so I can say for right now it's going to be the identical teams from last season. It's going to be the same World Series rematch. Neither of those teams are even going to be featuring rookies. So we'll talk about all that later, but definitely excited for that. And once we get closer to that day, we'll have more season and series by series predictions. So before we do get started, if you're still here and you're kind of a bigger fan of the podcast, I'm glad to say that episodes will be coming out a lot more frequently now that the draft has passed, because now it's really talking about everything for the 2024 season. We're going to go through predictions. We're going to go through hot takes. We're going to do a full detailed season prediction down to my World Series pick. That's going to be much later. But then we'll kind of go into more of a weekly episode, maybe series breakdowns, and then a preview for the next one. So all of that to come. Very exciting stuff around the league. Very exciting stuff around the podcast. And that's pretty much it. So, all right, before we fully jump into the live reaction, going to be starting a new opener here. It's going to be called Game Time. So at the beginning of every episode, I'm going to play a little bit of a game with you guys, and they're going to be MLW styled. And if you are a fan of the Deep 3 podcast, it's all about NBA stuff. They do a TikTok time at the end. Very high quality podcast. I definitely go check that out. And they have all these kind of interactive games to play at the end of episodes. We're going to play a quick one at the beginning. So the rules of this are simple. You are not allowed to say the same thing as me. So I have 4 different MLW related categories. I'm going to say the category. You're going to think of something in that category. And if we're thinking of the same thing, then you are out. So you got 4 chances. They get increasingly harder. So the first question is, I need you to think of one MLW player. It can be any of them. There's about 6 to 8 players on every team, and there's 8 teams, so the odds are very much in your chance here. I need you to pick one player, okay? And if you chose Nick Saylor, you are out. If not, you're still in. Enter round 2. Let me know if you're still in here. Name one MLW team. All right, your odds went way down. They went down pretty fast here. I want you to name one of the 8 MLW teams. All right, decide on it. Here we go. If you said the Eastern Eagles, you're out. I know I got some people there. Next up here, 2 more. I want you to name one MLW MVP. There's been 14 seasons of MLW. There have not been 14 different MVPs. So again, I think the chances are going a little bit lower. This one, I'd be surprised if, this one's a little bit of a rare one. But if you picked Tommy Coughlin, you are out. All right, final one here. I want you to name an MLW World Series winner in the last 5 seasons. So that includes 2023 all the way back to the 2019 season. So that's 23, 22, 21, 20. Yeah, 2019 season, okay? I think there's 4 of them. Again, this is going to be the hardest one. And if you said the reigning champion Metro Magic, you are out. Let me know if you guys enjoyed that. We're going to be doing that every single episode. I got a couple more fun ones. Going to be doing like blind rankings, maybe like some kind of draft. So let me know if I got you out. But all right, so now I'm going to jump back to a couple hours ago for me in my live reaction to the draft. The screen recording for my first time, I think it went okay. It's a little shaky. I'm kind of scared to see how it turns out once this whole episode is like processed and uploaded. Um, but it's about a 30 minute segment. So let's jump into my live reaction to the 2024 MLW draft. That's next. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here. I have the official draft video pulled up and ready to play. And this is it. There are a ton of questions. This has got to be one of the most highly anticipated drafts in recent MLW history, just because of how much kind of hot stove rumors this offseason that we've heard. Most notably being on the Pipered Up podcast, Tommy and Jack did a little um, mock drafts episode, and they just threw in a ton of players and all of these draft picks. And at the very end, they dropped a bomb and said that one of those players that they mentioned were rumored to be traded in a multi-team deal in the upcoming draft. And so those 9 players were Ryan Cratch, Blade Walker, Jacob Pishka, Caden Irwin, Brennan Davenport, Brendan Baranowski, Nick Saylor, Brendan Jorgensen, or Casey Bennett. Everybody's saying that it has to be Brendan Jorgensen. That definitely makes the most sense, but I could also see kind of like a backup player trade kind of swap, like similar to how we saw like Ben Wilson go from the Diamondbacks to the Mallards, kind of like one of those players like that, where it's not like a super star player, but it's still a trade nonetheless. So if something like that went down, maybe we could see a Casey Bennett. I think Caden Irwin should be on the move. Jacob Pishka could be up there. That's a bigger trade, but definitely Brendan Jorgensen is the leading candidate for this trade that we are expecting to go down here. So kind of final predictions for this. I don't know. I think the Cobras should should take their pick at the second overall. The Wildcats should take their pick number 1 overall. I think the Wildcats shop that third pick, maybe whether that's with the Gators and a team and another team to maybe get Jorgensen somewhere. Maybe Nick Saylor somewhere. This is also the first year where teams can opt out of the draft pick, so I wouldn't be surprised if the bottom 3 teams, which are the Mallards, Eagles, and Magic, if all of those 3 teams opt out just because they have a very full team. So a lot of questions. You guys will be able to hear the draft. So we're going to go through this whole thing, 15 minutes and 3 seconds here. Let's jump into the MLW draft. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2024 MLW Draft, presented by Voot Grips. Please welcome the MLW Commissioner, Kyle Schultz.
Here we go. Here we go. All right. Expansion. Making an an expansion joke right off the bat. All right. Here we go.
Hello,
It's coming.
Welcome
All right.
to the 2024 MLW Draft. We are now in year 5 of making wiffle ball dreams come true via this draft. And as always, this is an open style draft where available players from all across the country are considered by our managers, especially ones that performed well at the MLW public tournaments. And one new quirk this year, if any team is content with the team they already have, they are not required to select anybody new onto their team.
Team can opt out.
Keep that in mind. But without further ado, after last year's draft trade between the Magic and Wildcats, myself and the Wildcats are on the clock with the number 1 pick.
All right. Here we go. Pick is in. Number 1 overall pick, Western Wildcats. Who do they select? Dun.
With the number 1 pick in the
Okay, it's not a
2024
trade.
MLW draft, the Western Wildcats select Patrick Ballman.
Patrick Ballman, a pitcher out of NWA wiffle ball, going number 1 overall.
All the way from St. Louis, Missouri, the Wildcats found our guy. Patrick Ballman is one of the most talented and dedicated wiffle ball players on the backyard scene right now, and he's got all the tools of a number 1 pick.
Okay.
Towering at 6'5", his high release point
6'5".
go-to drop ball.
RJ Walgate type pitcher on the mound, maybe.
In addition to some slide drop and knuckleball junk. And he's no scrub at the plate either. This kid hits absolute bombs and adds immediate depth to the Wildcats lineup. One that already
wow. All right.
3
So
All-Stars.
right off the bat here, Patrick Ballman going to the Wildcats, number 1 overall. He is 4 out of 5 star recruit here in the draft. Ballman is a two-way player, so pitching and hitting. We've seen the trend, right, for all these past years is Jordan Robles, pitcher hitter, Grant Miller, who's kind of pitcher hitter, and now Patrick Ballman. So a bigger question with the Wildcats here off the top of my mind is this going to be their new ace? So is Kyle Schultz going to step down, and now we probably won't see Jackson Pearson on the mound anymore, probably not Nick Saylor unless there's like a dire situation, but looks like Ballman and Schultz will be leading their lineup.
And if I had to give him a player comp, it would be RJ Walgate.
Okay, just said that. RJ Walgate.
To be a little bit more dual threat long term. In 2023, Ballman performed well at MLW's Wiffle in the Mitten tournament, Long Island Whiffs tournament, NWA tournament, and even attended the MLW St. Louis series. So he really proved to us that he wanted to take his wiffle ball career to the next level.
He doesn't look quite as old as Grant Miller or Jordan Robles, but definitely like older.
What's going on, Kyle?
What's up, Patrick? How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I just want to let you know, with the number 1 overall selection, my Wildcats have selected you, bro.
Dude, no way, dude. I'm so excited. This is going to be awesome.
Can't wait to have you on the squad.
All right.
I love what you bring to the table, and go Cats, baby.
Absolutely. Let's win this thing.
All right, there it is. Patrick Ballman, number 1 overall. Very interested to see. We do not know who the Wildcats play in opening day. Could he be their number 1 pitcher? Wouldn't it be surprised? That was a very Kyle hyped that up a lot. So it's very exciting for them. Wildcats could be a very interesting team to watch, and also be very interesting to watch their what will happen with their 3rd overall pick. So let's keep going here. Okay, Cobras, pick is in. Looks like it's not a trade. Big pick here. Okay. All right. It's a trade. Here we go.
Things brewing here at the number 2 pick. I am thrilled to announce a 3-team blockbuster.
All right, this is it. This is all right. Cobras, trade the 2nd overall. All right, who is it?
Here at the number 2 pick.
Oh my gosh. All right.
I'm thrilled to announce a 3-team blockbuster trade between the following teams: the Coastal Cobras, the Midwest
Mallards,
and the Great Lakes Gators.
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Cobras, Ducks, Gators. Caden Irwin, maybe. Could Irwin go to the Cobras as a pitcher? Is Jorgensen going to the Mallards? Okay. All right.
So let's put it up on the screen right now and go one
Okay.
by one.
All right, here we go.
Each team is receiving.
The Coastal
Starting
Cobras.
with the Coastal Cobras.
They will
be receiving
Caden Irwin
from the Mallards,
and the 6th
and
overall
also-
pick. So Irwin. Okay. Oh, that's great. That's all right. I love it, Tommy. Coastal Cobras get Caden Irwin. So that's gonna be their number 2 arm. Oh God, I don't like it. All right. Well, I'll get to it. So Cobra's rotation now is Barron on the ace and Caden Irwin backing up. But the Cobras also get the Mallard's 3rd overall pick. So is Jorgensen going to the Ducks?
The number 6 pick here in the 2024 draft.
Okay.
The Midwest
Mallards.
are receiving
Brennan
Brennan
Jorgensen.
Jorgensen.
Wow. The Mallards. Okay.
Of course, the Great Lakes Gators 4-year player.
Jorgensen going to the Mallards.
This number 2
So the
pick
Gators
in
get the
2024
2nd overall pick in this draft, and they give up Brendan Jorgensen to the Mallards. Wow. Okay. So off the rip, the Mallards win this trade. 1,000%. 1,000%. So the Mallards lost their 6th pick and Caden Irwin for Brennan Jorgensen essentially. That's what the Mallards did. And that's a great trade for them. So Jorgensen going to the Mallards. So he's probably going to back up Jordan Robles unless Preston Colm will step up to the mound. Wow. Okay. All right. I wouldn't be surprised if Jorgensen is just a hitter on the Mallards, but that is honestly a great pickup. Gators, all they do is give up Jorgensen for this pick, so the Great Lakes Gators will get a franchise-altering pick here coming up at number 2 overall. And then the Cobras get the 6th and Caden Irwin. Oh gosh. I don't. All right. I got some thoughts about the Cobras. We'll have plenty of time to talk about it, but
let's get right back into
'kay.
it with the new Great Lakes Gators manager, Chris Cheatham, who will be
Cheatham,
making
yep,
his
new
selection.
pitcher, new manager. Here we go. Pick is in for the Gators. 2nd overall.
With the 2nd pick in the 2024 MLW draft, the Great Lakes Gators select Jeremy Adams.
Jeremy Adams, pitcher out of VWL Flamingos.
Another out-of-state guy off the board at number 2, and it's
He's
a good
young.
one. Jeremy Adams from Verona, Wisconsin is the ace on quite possibly the greatest U17 team in the history of MLW's public tournament circuit. Being, of
U17,
course,
so.
the VWL Flamingos. In his young wiffle ball career, he's already played in 7 MLW tournaments where he's accumulated 25 total team wins in 3 titles. This also includes 2 invites to MLW's national tournament, and for the first time
Jeremy
in 2023,
Adams.
Adams became a national champion. In terms of his gameplay, he can make the
Wow,
ball move
what
in
an
all 4
what an
directions
off
out
season
there,
for the
but his
Gators.
accuracy is his best component in my mind. I've seen him a lot since 2021, and I always see him finding the zone. Offensively, he's a true threat as well. Several home runs on the national stage also has to be music to Gators fans' ears. And however Chris Cheatham plans to use him, I know he has a great shot to be successful. This kid's resume is just loaded, especially for his age.
Okay, so he's a
and I know
dual
he's
threat.
ready to continue that history of winning on a team that could really use some of that right now.
Just wanted to let you know that the Great Lakes Gators actually made a crazy trade. We traded up to the number 2 pick, and we decided to draft you with that pick, man. So congratulations, and really looking forward to having you on the team and trying to win some games this year, man.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Wow. All right. So that was it. That was the trade. That was it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's one other minor one, but most likely it's going to be just draft picks from this point on. So Caden Irwin going to the Mallards. Brennan Jorgensen going to the Mallards. Irwin going to the Cobras. This has been the biggest off-season shakeup, probably league history. Maybe not quite, but instead of adding players, but players already in the league switching up. So Gators get, what was it, Jeremy Adams? I can't remember exactly. Something. Super young kid, looked pretty good. At number 2 overall, he's got to be good. So here's a Wildcats 3rd overall pick.
With the
Okay,
3rd pick
Wildcats are
of the
picking.
2024 MLW draft, the Western Wildcats select Ty Frensnick.
Ty Frensnick, utility player out of WR Wiffle. Let's take a listen.
Ty Frensnick is just a well-rounded wiffle ball player, and it doesn't hurt that he is from the birthplace of MLW right here in Brighton, Michigan. I am a big fan, especially of how he can track the ball at the plate. He's got a good stance.
Ty
You can
Frensnick.
really tell he's got a solid baseball background.
3 stars.
He's also been a workhorse on the mound at each Wiffle in the Mitten tournament since 2021, and he's got a 2nd place finish under his belt in 2022. A young kid at just 16 years old, but he plays with a lot of focus and passion out there.
Wow.
And I know he'll fit in right away with the Wildcats. Can't wait to see his role in MLW grow throughout the years.
Yo, what's up, Kyle?
Ty, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great because right now, with the number 3 pick, I can officially say the
Okay.
Western Wildcats have drafted you into the league. So congratulations, buddy.
So much, man. I'm so excited.
Wildcats.
Yeah, love what you bring to the table, and I think it.
2
it's gonna be a great year
picks.
for the Cats. So
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It's gonna be a good year. Go Cats.
go Cats, baby.
Look out for the Wildcats in 2024. I actually like how they did not trade a pick. I think they definitely needed a new set of players. I wouldn't hate if Pearson left or maybe Nick Saylor left, but this definitely feels like a breath of fresh air if you are a Wildcats fan. So they're going to be a fun team to watch. I can tell. We always see these, worst of first situations just by one draft pick, and they got 2. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good one. All right, here we go. Let's keep going. D-backs, 4th overall pick. Pick is in. Let's see. Jimbo.
With the 4th pick.
Okay, they're making a pick.
In the 2024 MLW draft.
D-backs.
The Downtown Diamondbacks select Carter Richard, outfielder.
Carter Richard, an outfielder from Bay City Wiffle Ball. Carter Richard.
Sneaky
Replacing
good pick here at number
Michael
4,
Shima.
I should have known from Norp. Carter Richard, who has the tough task of essentially replacing Michael Shima,
Just said that.
features an old school Pete Rose type of stance and contact swing.
Pete
one that
Rose,
has proven
look
to
at
be
that.
effective in the Bay City Wiffle Ball League, a league that has become a prevalent MLW pipeline in recent years.
Yeah, it's another Bay City
Carter is
player.
still relatively new to the competitive scene. But
I
in
believe that's the
2023, he won his league's
Trey
Most
Flood
Improved award
League.
and has made huge strides from the left side of the plate. He's a tough kid, actually, with a hockey background.
3-star
I'm
pick.
sure he won't get flustered if things go awry out there, but I think his hitting mechanics really do play into
It's
the
pretty
MLW
young,
style,
young.
and he'll have his chances with the D-backs.
Carter Richard.
Hey, what's up, Jim?
See, Rich, what's going on, man? How you doing?
See Rich.
I didn't too bad. Just getting ready for the day.
Good. Love that. Well, I'm here right now at the MLW draft, and I know we've been talking a little bit, but I want to officially congratulate you because you're going to be in a D-back uni this year, my man.
That's sweet, Jim. That's awesome.
Carter
Yes, sir,
Richard.
you're going to be looking good in the D-back beige. We're happy to have you.
All right. So that is 4 picks in, 1 blockbuster trade, bottom 4 teams here. So now with the 6th, or we got 5th, and then the 6th will be the Cobras. So let's keep going here.
All right, guys, taking a quick break in the
'Kay.
action to shout
Whew.
out and thank our
Much needed
sponsor
break.
since 2019.
Very interesting
Voot
draft so
Grips.
far.
Voot Grips is the official back grip sponsor of.
So we're gonna first of all, starting from this point to the end of the season, expect very, very more active episodes as we're gonna be doing like full season predictions and breakdowns here. As we're gonna have a lot to talk about, and I think this trade really switches things up. So I off the rip, I think the Cobras lose this. I'll see what they do with the 6th overall. But I'm not gonna lie, you can call me it. I've kind of been a Caden Irwin hater. I don't think he's a reliable arm on the mound. I think he's kind of been slowing down the Mallards as they have very much needed a second arm. That's why I think they've lost back-to-back NLCS. It's just people have been starting to see Jordan Robles more. So very interesting stuff. But let's tune back in here. Pacific Predators. Pigs in here. Alec.
And with the 5th pick,
They're
in the
all right, making a pick. No draft or no trade.
MLW draft, the Pacific Predators select Levi Fleer,
Levi Fleer.
WR Wiffle.
Pitcher. WR Wiffle.
I really like
3-star
this pick
pick.
here for the Preds. Levi Fleer is a crafty pitcher that can get a lot of drastic.
Okay,
movement
we'll
on those
see if
sweeping
this
curveballs
kid
and
can
sliders of his. He's another
take
veteran kid who's
over
played
Stephen
alongside
McGlade's
new
spot.
Wildcats player Ty Frensnick in the MLW tournaments, and he made his U17 national debut this past October, where he had moments of great potential on the mound. I think the biggest thing to watch here in Fleer's game would just be the accuracy. If he can consistently locate those nasty pitches with the MLW style ball.
All right, we're
pitching
just
to
seeing
hits and
pitching
speed limit,
highlights.
he
Don't
could have the chance
wonder
to
if he's
grow
just a
into the
one-way
best
player.
number 2 arm the Preds have ever had in the Meadows era. This
What'd he
team
say?
is desperately the chance to grow into the best number 2 arm the Preds have ever had in the Meadows era.
Just said this is Levi Fleer has a chance to grow into the 2nd best arm of Preds Meadows era history. So off the top of my mind, starting in 2018, I think by that time Wardo was still on the mound. I don't think Russell ever got there, but then they've had McGlade for the past 2-3 seasons. So not a ton of competition. So definitely some high stakes here.
This team has desperately been looking for a young guy to come in.
Yes, they have.
dedicated,
The Preds need a lot of new breath.
difference maker from day one, and I think Fleer is that guy. He's a fiery kid that is going to feed off the personality of guys like Warda, Kratch, and Ramirez. It might just be the missing piece to push him over
All
that
right.
LCS hump.
We'll see.
Hey, Levi, how's it going, man?
Nothing. What's up, Alec?
Nothing much, just chilling. So yeah, I know you, me, and Kratch have been talking a lot these past few months, And I'm just here to let
That's
you
right. I
know
always
that
forget
the
that.
draft is specifically
Warda
yours
and
for the
Kratch are
2024 MLW
co-managers.
draft.
Man, that's awesome. I just want to say thank you to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He's the one who got me here. And I know he's got a plan for me, and on that plan is a Preds World Series.
Wow. All right. Big words, big words. All right. So now it is time for the Cobras 6th pick here. They have so far added one player. This team is full, and including Andy Duran coming back. Could Drew opt out of this pick? Let's take a look.
Hello there.
Hello.
With the 6th pick
Okay.
in the MLW
Making a
draft,
pick.
the Coastal Cobras select Justin Esch,
Justin Esch, outfielder.
Michigan College.
All right, no pitcher.
I think this pick is high risk, high reward here.
Two star. College said high risk, high reward.
The Cobras. We know Drew Davis loves his baseball players. You think of guys in the past like Zach Hopman, Mitch Marvin, Jack Krause, and he's once again going in that direction with Justin Esch, an outfielder from Mid-Michigan College. He's surely the top baseball player off the board, something in MLW that's been kind of hit or miss in recent years, but he's one that's also been a huge MLW fan for years as well. And due to his busy baseball schedule, he's only made it out to one MLW tournament in the past, the 2021 Wiffle in the Mitten, but he made a memorable impression there with 4 home runs in the event, one of those coming off of now teammate Brendan Baranowski. Word is that Esch will be more available than ever to play this summer and could be a secret weapon for the Cobras, a team that has made a bunch of moves this offseason.
Wow.
Welcome home. Welcome home, Justin. You're part of the Coastal Cobras organization. The historic, the one and only. How do you feel? Speak to the camera.
Long time coming.
Okay. Let's recap this Cobras offseason. So Sawyer Bien, or no, it started before the offseason. They got Jorgensen like by the last series of the season. Didn't go through. That falls through. They don't get Jorgensen. Zerlag requests a trade. They trade for Zerlag. They take away Bien, which on the surface was a hell of a trade. In the draft, the 2nd overall pick, they trade down for Caden Irwin, and then with that pick, they get Justin Esch, who is an outfielder. So they don't take a pitcher. Okay, all right, we'll see. Eagles, 7th overall. Dirty Dan.
At the 7th pick, the Eastern Eagles have decided to decline
Okay.
our selection.
All right.
Ready to run it back this year again with the same squad. Love our team chemistry. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
I like it. That's a good take. That's a good take by Dan. That's a good take. They got a very, very full team. So, first ever opt-out draft pick in MLW history belongs to Daniel Schultz of the Eagles. I think it's a good call. I think this team's at a very good spot. I wouldn't have hated if they would have taken a reliable second arm, but it sounds like it'll be Dallas games 1 and 3 with Blade Walker in the middle. Offense is looking good. Daniel Schultz can turn up. Dallas Allen can, of course, hit bomb. Blade Walker is the occasional good player. Landon, your guidance is one of the best. It's gonna. I like the take from Dirty Dan. Okay, all right, here we go. Final pick of the 2024 MLW draft belongs to the Metro Magic. I am expecting an opt out, but we'll see. There's still 3 minutes left of the video, so we'll see.
At the 8th pick in the 2024 MLW draft, the Metro Magic will also be declining to select.
Yeah.
Looking forward to defending our title with the same 6 boys on the squad.
Good.
Wands up.
That's another great take. I think that's 2 very, very smart choices by Daniel and Jack. I like it. I do like it. I think those teams, I mean, you both make it to the World Series. I think with this sport, a very true statement is don't fix what's not broken. So both teams make it to the World Series. What's to say that they can't do it again? So Jack Agner declines his pick. Metro Magic will return with the same 6 or 7 players from last season. So very nice here. Let's see. Final 3 minutes. Nope, we got that. Hold on. Wow. Yep. Okay, sorry about that. Got out here, but just want to see the final couple minutes of this video. So, okay, we're still not. All right. It's been an interesting one. I think, yeah, that one blockbuster. So it was Caden Irwin and Brandon Jorgensen were the two that were in it. But
For the 2024
okay.
Bonds up.
So that will do it for the 2024 MLW draft. But as we commonly do, we have one undrafted free agent signing.
Oh, yeah,
This is
wait.
coming from the Great Lakes Gators. They have.
It says plus an announcement. Here, hold on. Okay, sorry. Here we go.
Picked up Aiden Richard, a utility player from Bay City Wiffle Ball, another athletic all-around
Okay,
guy.
Aiden
Actually won
Richard,
the most clutch award in that
undrafted
league this
free
past
agent,
year, so
going to the
it's a match of
Gators.
home
So,
run ball, and this selection
another
really
young
reminds
pick
me of
here.
The AJ Ackerman pickup last year from the Magic, another UDFA guy that could definitely make a difference in the league. So shout out to Aiden, as well as these 6 other guys making their way into the league
Aiden,
this
all right.
year. Super excited for you guys to make your mark in MLW. And if you're wondering still how you can be drafted into MLW in the future, I alluded to it in the intro, but the number one way is through the MLW public tournaments. I will put some information on the screen right now about the next 3 tournaments, but it's truly the best way for you to meet the guys.
Okay, we got
show
an
your
announcement coming up
personality, and play
apparently,
some
but
wiffle ball. It's a great balance of competitiveness and fun, which is the number one thing I love about these tournaments. Last thing.
okay.
I know a lot of you guys have been pushing for us to expand MLW.
Whoa.
And I
Whoa, hold on. What? Hold on.
I know a lot of you guys have been pushing for us to expand MLW, and I myself
Okay. They're not about to do an expansion.
want that to be something that happens in the future as well. We're not currently at the point to where we can comfortably expand. However, I would like to offer a proposition to MLW Nation.
Okay.
Whenever MLW hits 1 million subscribers, we will expand to at least 2 more teams. That is official. You can write that down. You can quote me. Whenever that mark happens, it could be as early as 2025 that we expand, or in the future, 1 million subs. Once we hit that point, we feel we can, as a company, have enough infrastructure and resources in place to where we can perform this move and expansion at a high level and to our standard. So if you're a big MLW fan out there, go tell a friend or 2 to go sub to MLW. I want
Good
this
move,
as
Kyle.
much as you guys for us to keep
Good.
growing.
It's a
as
businessman
league,
move right
as a
there.
company.
All right, Kyle.
I think it could be awesome.
See you.
Bringing in at least 2 more teams to the league. But that will do it for today's draft video. The 2024 season is practically here. I'm sure you saw it already on social media, but the opening day matchup is the Magic versus Eagles, a rematch of last year's Atlanta World Series. So that's going to drop on the channel on Friday, May 3rd. Make sure you don't miss it by subscribing in that corner, and also see the last video from us in that corner. We'll see you next time, MLW Nation. Let's drive that sub count up.
Wow. Okay, so not quite a big announcement. But once MLW has 1,000 subscribers, they will expand to 10 teams in the league. So they are currently at 466,000. So they're not. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is me now. A day after I ended up being able to record the day of here.
I think this,
but for this kind of closing out of this episode, we are going to
everybody
recap
watches.
what every
It might
team
be in a
kind of
little
got
bit.
and lost in the draft.
So
we're gonna go over quick winners and losers. I have 3 teams in
I
mind
feel like
that
if
I
it's
think
not
really
done by like
made a jump or really made a
2026,
step
they
back,
should
and then
expand.
just doing
But
the full updated,
I mean, it's an announcement
essentially
nonetheless.
final
I was
rosters
right, so,
for 2024
once
opening
MLW
day.
hits
So
1
we're
million
gonna be doing all of
subscribers,
that
they will expand to 10
here to close out
teams.
the episode. So
I'm
let's start off
guessing
with the
that'll
complete
probably
team
be
outcomes for the 2024 draft.
26.
Starting with the
I'd
Western
be
Wildcats
surprised
with
if
the
it's
number
early as
1 overall pick. They took
2025.
Patrick Ballman
But I mean,
at
I'd
first
love to
overall
see
as a
that.
two-way
So
player. So it can be a hitter and a pitcher out
what
of
a draft!
NWA
All
Wiffle
right,
Ball.
that
and
was
a
we were
4-star
expecting
recruit.
some mayhem, and that second
In the
overall pick definitely delivered.
recent
So
drafts,
we're going to be talking
I
about that a
believe
lot.
Jordan Robles and Grant Miller
As
were
I'm
definitely
gonna
both
kind of exit out of this,
5-star
and we are
recruits, and there
going
were
to
actually no
break down all of our
5
thoughts for the
stars
draft. So stay tuned. That's
immediately here in this draft video. So I think there are 3 or 4 that had 4 stars, but a lot who had, I think, actually Ballman might be the only one, but there were a ton of 3 stars. So Patrick Ballman, the highest overall prospect coming into the league, two-way player. We'll see if he can come onto the mound immediately with the Wildcats, because I think that's been a big downside for them, has honestly been their rotation, because Kyle is, of course, one of the most consistent hitters of all time, if not the most. And then Nick Saylor, who has been hit or miss in the past couple of years, but Saylor can still be really good. And then and Jackson Pearson as well. So they definitely needed some help on the pitching. From the sound of it is kind of hinting towards Kyle Schultz stepping away from pitching, and that's kind of coming to a close in his career, which isn't very surprising. I mean, we've seen it from a couple of veterans who are now just solely focused on like managing and hitting, i.e., like Tommy Coughlin and Daniel Schultz. So obviously, I don't want to see Kyle Schultz leave. He's still one of the most dominant pitchers he can be. It's just he has the same arsenal, and I think now for this league coming up on the 15th year, I think a lot of people are really starting to see that and know kind of what he throws, and he just becomes more predictable. So Wildcats rotation is in a very interesting spot. I'm sure they got to give it to Kyle to start game one of their first series this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick Ballman steps up here and gets to start in game number 2 over Jackson Pearson. So Ballman, number 1 overall. And then with their 3rd overall pick, we were expecting possibly a little bit of a move from the Wildcats, but no, they stuck with it, and they chose Ty Fresnick, who is another two-way player. He is out of WR Wiffle and is a 3-star recruit. Fresnick, I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of like, just because now this team, it gets pretty full, because if they keep like Ty Smith, now Fresnick, I don't see a big spot for him. Then again, we'll see how Kyle pitches, because Fresnick is also a two-way player. He can hit and pitch. So definitely, I think this was a very well-executed draft by Kyle, and getting 2 pitchers / two-way hitters, two-way players are going to be very, very nice. So that is the Wildcats. They brought in 2 more additions, average of 3.5 stars. Looking out for the Cats in 24. That'll be interesting. All right. Next up, the 2nd overall pick fell to the Coastal Cobras, who, as we just saw, completed that blockbuster trade. So, team outcomes, what this team is bringing in is the Coastal Cobras are bringing in Caden Irwin, pitcher from the Midwest Mallards, in that trade. And then, as they kind of traded down for the Mallards' 6th overall pick, they selected Justin Esch, who is a hitter out of Mid-Michigan College, a 2-star recruit, one of the lowest of the draft picks. Justin Esch is a baseball player, so Kyle was a little weary when he was explaining it, how baseball players can be a big hit or miss. A good example of that is Rudy Ramirez, how he's one of the best baseball players in that kind of area. And then it just, honestly, it hasn't really correlated to wiffle ball yet. So definitely kind of a high risk, high reward for Justin Esch. I have a lot of thoughts on the Cobras, so I'll save those for later. But so Cobras bringing in Caden Irwin and Justin Esch, 2 more players into an already full lineup, and they don't like give up anybody in the draft. So interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Next up here, the Great Lakes Gators. This team, brand smacking new. They brought in Jeremy Adams with the 2nd overall pick in that trade for them, where they lost Brendan Jorgensen, which, I mean, I don't hate it. I think we all expected that to happen. But they brought in Jeremy Adams, who is a two-way player from a tournament team, the VWL Flamingos, and is the 2nd 4-star commit, or 4-star recruit, similar to Patrick Ballman. So Adams, the Gators, this team, we're gonna need to look at their roster to see how many moving pieces there are, because along with Jeremy, so going into the draft, Gators didn't have a pick. They give up a significant piece. They give up their best player for this draft pick. They select Jeremy Adams. Undrafted free agent after the draft, they grab Aiden Richards, who is a hitter from Bay City Wiffle Ball. Didn't get a ton of information on him. All we know is that he won a most clutch award in his Bay City Wiffle Ball league. But so he is just a hitter for the Gators. So that part's not super concerning that they didn't take a pitcher with that UDFA. But Jeremy Adams does sound like somebody that can step up on the mound for the Gators in 2024. So interesting stuff there. And then, of course, the Gators just lost Brendan Jorgensen in that trade. So brought in 2, but lost 1. Next up here, the Downtown Diamondbacks, looking to replace Michael Shima. They take Carter Richard at the 4th overall pick, who is a hitter out of also Bay City Wiffle Ball. 3 stars. Richard is going to have big shoes to fill. as this is the first D-backs team kind of in the Jimmy era without Michael Shima. So I don't think it's going to feel the same. Shima didn't have that much of an input into the team. Like he was a player. He was such a vital role in them winning the 2021 World Series over the Wildcats. But after that, we did kind of see a very inconsistent play from Shima. I still loved him. He was still a vital part of the D-backs. So in my mind, this is overall a good thing for the team. We know how good Jimmy is at drafting. All of his picks have played off well. Trey Flood is a solid number 2 ace, could be one of the best players in the league. We have Jacob Pishka, who, if he gets a full season of at-bats, everyone in MLW saying he can be really, really good. Then, of course, Casey Bennett, who is who kind of we've seen him work. We've seen him win the most dedicated. We know what he's capable of. So we'll see if Carter Richard can have that same kind of output that all the other draft picks have had. So Carter Richard replacing Michael Shima as a hitter in that D-backs lineup. So not a pitcher, just a hitter from what we've heard. So that definitely means that Jimmy Norp and Trey Flood will be manning that rotation for the D-backs here. But next up, the Pacific Predators at the 5th overall pick selected Levi Fleer, who is a pitcher out of WR Wiffle and a 3-star recruit. So when Kyle was explaining it, he did say that this has the potential, that Levi Fleer has the potential to be the Predators' best number 2 arm in Meadows' era. Now, in the video, I was like, all right, well, there's not a ton of competition for that. It's really just Stephen McGlade and pretty much Alec Ward, unless I'm forgetting somebody. But, I mean, I think the relationship with McGlade did last a little bit long for the Predators, so I think this is a really, really good thing for them to bring in another arm, because the past 2-3 seasons, everybody that's been playing the Preds has only seen Cratch and McGlade, and nobody can touch Cratch. So I think this is a really good pick. The Preds are kind of in the same boat as the Mallards, as they're always a CS team. They can't quite get over to the World Series. But Kyle, when he said it, he goes, this team or this guy could he be what pushes the Predators over that CS hump and makes him go to the World Series. So Levi Fleer going to the Pacific Predators. And then here, Midwest Mallards. I will talk about them. We're going to talk about this team later, but let's just go with what they got. So in the draft, they had the 6th overall pick, and they ended up walking away with Brendan Jorgensen, who won the comeback player, the comeback player of the year, one of the most consistent and best batters of the 2023 season in Brendan Jorgensen. And the Mallards need their offense, and Jorgensen could be a 2-way player. This is a great pickup by Tommy Coughlin. But, of course, at the cost of that, they did lose Caden Irwin and their draft pick. But when you because, that draft pick ultimately turned into that baseball player that the Cobras took. So, in an ideal world, they gave up Caden Irwin and an unknown draft pick for Brendan Jorgensen. So, in my mind, that is definitely a win for the Mallards. All right, and then to close out the draft, the Eastern Eagles and Metro Magic had picks number 7 and 6, or 7 and 8. And then, to no surprise, the Eagles and Magic both opted out of their picks, which, you heard my reaction in the video, how that, in my mind, was a good decision for both of them. They both had very full teams, but not as to a point where, the Cobras have so many players, but they have enough to, actually manage them and actually get everybody a good spot. So, good call by Daniel and Jack Agner there, opting out for the Magic and Eagles. So, all right. That was what every team got here. But I have 3 teams in my mind that made a statement here. 2 of them are winners in my mind, and one of them is a loser. Other than that, I think every team did, good enough, not enough to get their name on the list. So, in my mind, the number 1 team that got the most better at the draft was the Midwest Mallards. I might go early enough to say that this move, in my mind, gives me the Mallards as my World Series pick in 2024. Granted, they were that pick for me last season. My World Series pick coming into the year was Mallards over Preds. I think the Mallards, are this is a great move. We've seen Jorgensen be, so, but right now that is for the cost of Caden Irwin and a 2-star draft pick for Brendan Jorgensen. I mean, I think Tommy kind of quietly fleeced that one out. So Mallards, and even like when you look at that team, you're like, oh, what do they need? Like, do they need better pitching? Caden Irwin isn't that guy for them. Do they need another draft pick? They got Preston Colm and Matt Carlington and Brennan Davenport. No, I think they need more veteran presence, not, Robles and Tommy. And then they go grab Brennan Jorgensen, who I think in my mind fits perfectly. The Mallards got so much better. They are the number one winner in my book. And then second place, I got to go with the Western Wildcats. I don't hate it that the Cats just stuck and kept that third overall pick and drafted somebody. I actually think that's a really good move. This team needed a breath of fresh air. We had seen just Kyle, Nick, and Jackson Pearson, well, and then kind of Ty Smith showing up here and there. But we had seen them for, it felt like 3 years, when we know Pearson has only been here for 2 years. But it feels like, they've been their core, and then what have they won in those 3 years? They've made it to one World Series, and other than that, have had 2 pretty quiet seasons. So Wildcats, I think this is a big breath of fresh air for them. Putting in a lot of new faces into the team, I think can do really good things for them. I think it's going to make the Wildcats a lot more of a, not mysterious team. That's not what I'm. A much more like new team for other teams that are facing them. Like when you play Wildcats, you're like, all right, we know what we're gonna get. We're gonna get Kyle on the mound for games 1 and 3. We've seen him. We kind of know how to get to him. Then you got Pearson or Saylor in game 2, which, again, they're kind of young guys. They don't have great ERAs. We can get to him as well. Wildcats were a beatable team. They have that. There's still 3 really, really good wiffle ball players. So they'll still win games because they're, really, really good. But now it's going to be even harder team to beat. And I think if Nick Saylor can go back to his prime, even just a little bit, not I'm not asking for an 11 home run season like he did. I'm asking for 5 home runs from Nick Saylor, and this Wildcats team is so much better when Saylor's good. So, I mean, if you think about it, so Saylor came into the league in 2020, had a tremendous rookie season, didn't win Rookie of the Year, but a really, really good rookie season, a huge bat. And then in 2021 was his prime, I think that was the year he hit 11 home runs. And the Wildcats lost in the World Series, actually both of the years in 2020 and 2021. But, I mean, there was a time where in between those 2 seasons, people thought the Wildcats had the 2 best players in the league in Kyle Schultz and Nick Saylor. But from that time, both of them have just been kind of taking a step down. So nonetheless, all in all, bringing in new guys, bringing in new faces, switching up this team's outlook, I think is going to do only good things for the Wildcats in 2024. And every year, the American League is just kind of in an interesting spot because there's always that one kind of surprise team that does bad within the first half or in the second half. Like last year, the Preds started 2-7 after making it to the ALCS the year before and having a tremendous regular season, and then they take a step down, and then the Cobras, who made it to the World Series and won the American League last year, then go 4-8. So, or no, not 4-11. Sorry. So it's just the American League is different every single year, and so now I think this definitely opens up a lot more possibilities for the Wildcats. So, all right, those are the 2 winners, Ducks and Cats. Very good draft. Could be World Series pick. I'm definitely more sure about the Mallards making it to the World Series and the Wildcats, but there is one team that got worse in the draft. And, I'm going to bleed into this next segment here as these kind of go hand in hand. As in this next segment, we're just going to go through each team's updated roster, go through who they added new, go through their pitching, how many players they got, how it's going to work. And the first team up here is the Coastal Cobras, and they are also my loser in this draft. So they had the 2nd overall pick. That has so much potential. So much potential with the 2nd overall pick. And then they trade it away, and they bring in Caden Irwin, a subpar pitcher from the Mallards, if I do say so. and then they trade down to get the 6th overall pick. But they do ultimately end up losing Brendan Jorgensen, losing the the idea of getting Brendan Jorgensen. So the Cobras right now have the biggest roster in the league, I want to say by at least 2 players. Yeah, no other team has. So the Cobras have 8 players. The most, like the second place team, a lot of them have 6. So Drew Davis, the manager, he is going to have a full team to manage this year. So their updated roster is Drew Davis, manager, Brendan Baranowski, a pitcher, Sean Flynn, Caden Irwin, a pitcher, Brendan Zerlag, Andy Duran is coming back, Chris Baranowski, and now a rookie Justin Nash. That is 8 players. That is too much to keep track. You can have 3 players in the field at once. That is 5 on the sideline if everybody shows up. You can ideally give 5 batters a game. Even that's a little much, but in wiffle ball, you want to give your best guys the most reps possible. So, you watch the D-backs all season long, having their 3 guys when they were in their prime in 2021 of getting Norp so many at-bats, getting Norp like 4 ABs a game. That's 12 a series. Do that times 5. Jonah Heath, when he was really, really good, you want to give your guys the most ABs, and the Cobras, I don't know what you do, because Andy Durand says he is, if you listen to the Pop It Up podcast with Durand, sounds very hungry to get back and to get better. But this team's rotation is Brennan Baranowski and Caden Irwin. And Baranowski went 0-6 last season with a pretty high ERA. And then is Caden Irwin, who's a subpar pitcher. So not only will the Coastal Cobras, in my mind, miss out on the playoffs, but I think this team is not going to be good at all. If we look at the Cobras and their World Series run in 2022, kind of shock everybody. They make it to the World Series. This team looks good. Duran can hit the ball far. Baranowski's a Cy Young. Sawyer Bien's a young plug. And now in 2024, Durand is slowly making a comeback, but Andy had a big fall off. He's kind of a Bryce Harper-esque player where, it's either a home run or a strikeout. So Durand is extremely unreliable at the plate. You have Baranowski, who's coming off the worst pitching season of his career. You have Caden Irwin, who is just, he's good. He's good. But Caden Irwin has also had a lot of help pitching, having like one of the best offenses behind him, and Tommy, who hit 6 home runs, and Jordan Robles, who can do it all. So not good. I'm sorry. I'm just going to be honest. Drew Davis is, if he puts himself as a pitcher, I don't know. Sean Flynn has a good on base percentage. He can walk a lot, but then again, like, this offense is just full. In my mind, it feels like too many players to handle at once. Yeah, so that is my thoughts on the Cobras. It's not good. It's not good. It's going to be interesting to see, but and they're going to have to play 3-game series against the Ryan Crouch and the Preds, the reigning champion Metro Magic, and now the new look Western Wildcats. And in my mind, they can't beat any of those 3 teams in a 3-game series. Hey, prove me wrong. I'd love to see it. When these Cobras are good, they are the most fun team to watch. In 2022, they were one of my favorite teams because when you see all those, high personalities, when they're winning, it's so fun. It's so much fun. You say, oh, what are they going to do now? And they're, that series they had against the Preds where Sawyer Bien and Brendan Russell were chirping. That was still one of the most entertaining videos that like MLW's ever made. So I want to see the team good. I just don't think the way that Drew Davis took the handle for this offseason and what he wanted to do, I disagree with. But hey, I'd love to be proved wrong. We'll see. All right. Let's move on from the Cobras here. Next up, the Brother Snakes, the Downtown Diamondbacks, led by manager Jimmy Norp, and then Trey Flood, Jonah Heath, Jacob Pishka, Casey Bennett, and then new rookie pick Carter Richards. So first, Michael Shima, less team. Richard is their rookie. nobody else really kind of has that pitching potential besides Norp and Flood. We did see Heath pitch a lot in the World Series in 2021, but that was 3 years ago. Maybe Carter Richard can be a pitcher for them. We don't really know since he's a rookie, but D-backs going to be an interesting year for them, 100%. I think Norp is still, MVP potential every single year. I loved what I saw from Trey Flood. If they can be really, really good, that's when the D-backs went 8-1 at the break last season. Are they capable of that this year? No, they're gonna. I mean, this team is very reliant on a lot of young players right now. So, we didn't see Flood at the plate a lot last season, but the at bats that he had, he definitely made the most of. So I think Flood could honestly be pretty valuable at the plate. And then if we see a full season from Jacob Pishka, and now we're definitely going to see a lot more involvement from Casey Bennett and hopefully their rookie pick, Carter Richards. So, going to be a fun year for the D-backs. They're always one of my favorite teams to watch, and any team with Jimmy Norp you can never count out. So, that's the D-backs. Moving on here to the Eastern Eagles, reigning National League champions. They are led by manager Daniel Schultz, followed by Dallas Allen, then Landon Urgaitis, Blade Walker, Zach Whalen, and Carson Urgaitis. This team is identical from last year. I like it. Don't fix what's not broken. The Eagles, the National League is definitely the harder of the two leagues, but this team showed that they can show up. So Daniel Schultz, I did put him as a pitcher. I'm not quite giving up on him at the mound, but I mean, definitely for their opening day series against the Magic, they are going to have Dallas Allen and Blade Walker pitch. I think that's 100%. Zach Whalen, still a super underrated player. Lanny Urgaitis, one of the best hitters. And then, of course, Daniel Schultz. The Eagles, they have a um, pretty easy recipe for success that we've seen can work really well when they're kind of all united as a team. The Eagles can be really fun. If Dallas Allen isn't in his head, if Blade Walker's his personality on the mound and they're doing good, if Lanny Urgaitis is healthy, can never count out the Eagles. So, good team. All right. Great Lakes Gators. Probably one of the biggest, off-season rebuilds in recent league history. 100%. This team has 6 players. They only have 3 players returning from last year. Only 3. Half their team is brand new. Granted, we'll see how much we see from their rookie picks, but this team is led by new manager Chris Cheatham, who is a pitcher on the mound, followed by Jason Chadwick, new trade Sawyer Bean, then Reese Harris, and then their 2 rookies, Jeremy Adams, who has pitching potential, and then Aiden Richard, who was an undrafted free agent. So, this team is going to be really fun to watch, and I don't have expectations for the Gators because, I almost see this team as like a brand new expansion team where like, oh, they get this player from that team and they get that player from that other team, kind of to build this random bunch of guys. I'm getting that feel from this new Gators team, and I'll be honest, I don't think it relates to wins immediately. Right, BN I think is going to be their game 1 starter. It'll be interesting to see who they pitch game 2, because Cheatham was a guy on the mound last year. Jason Chadwick can still pitch, and then they have their rookie number 2 overall pick Jeremy Adams, who I have super high hopes for. So we're guessing. In my mind, I'm gonna honestly give them Jeremy Adams at rookie pitching in game 2, kind of sandwiching, or I mean Sawyer BN sandwiching Jeremy Adams. And then we'll see if Aiden Richard can kind of live up to the AJ Ackerman undrafted free agent hype. But Reese Harris, I don't know how much we'll see of him. But I mean, I'm not giving up on Cheatham on the offense yet. That's the one thing that really scares me is without Jorgensen, this team had frightful numbers last season. So don't have expectations for the Gators. Don't do it yet. They're probably going to miss out on the postseason. It's just that Mallards, D-backs, and Eagles are really, really good wiffle ball teams, and the Gators aren't there yet. They're a couple pieces away, though. I think I would ideally want Chadwick gone for maybe Brendan Jorgensen, just because Jorgensen can be really, really good offensively, and that's what scares me from this team. So they're still the runt of the NL in my mind, but again, maybe it's time to see a good Gators team. They're hungry. Cheatham is very tired of losing. We can tell. And I mean, I'm sure that they'll really turn to their new guys. I think BN, Jeremy Adams, and Aiden Richard will be a huge, huge part for the Gators, especially early on in the season, give them a lot of reps. So very interesting team. It has been a fun offseason to watch for the Gators. We wanted changes. They said they needed changes, and did they make them? They very much did. So no more Zerlag, no more Jorgensen, two very key players, as now only one player remains from that Gators World Series winning team in 2020, and that is Rookie of the Year, Chris Cheatham. So interesting stuff. I applaud their offseason. I'm glad they went out and made changes because they said they needed it. So Gators, good job. Guys had an eventful offseason. We'll see. Don't be sad when you guys lose this year. It's all right. It'll take time. It'll take time. Rebuilds don't happen a year. It's good. Good though. Good job from the Gators. All right. Metro Magic up here. 4 more. Okay, 4 more teams here. Magic did not change. They had Grant Miller at manager, or no, Jack Agner at manager. Grant Miller right below him. R.J. Walgate, Trevor Bonham, A.J. Ackerman, Jordan Curdy. World Series winning team right here. This team definitely has a very good equation. It's it's good when they're good, but it's kind of one of those like things where if one player's bad, kind of the rest of the team isn't great. Like it's very dependent on everybody doing their job, right? Walgate on the mound. If he can do his thing again, this Magic team is unbeatable. Trevor Bonham, so solid. Probably the most underrated player in the league. Grant Miller at the plate. The only series that the Magic lost, granted it was against the D-backs last year, but the only series they lost was when Grant Miller wasn't there. So it's dependent on people doing their jobs, but we've seen them do their jobs, and I think they're going to keep doing their job. So Magic, very high hopes for them. I think they have a good shot to go back to back here. All right, next up, the Midwest Mallards, who I've already said my thing. The Mallards are my World Series winners in 2024, led by TC3. Tommy Coughlin, their fearless leader, fearless manager, followed by Jordan Robles, an MVP finalist last year, actually MVP finalist past 2 seasons. Then we got Brendan Jorgensen, the new addition to the Mallards, then followed by their 3 young guys, Preston Cole, Matt Carlington, and Brendan and Davenport, I guess. Not necessarily young, but newer players, and Colm, Carlington, and Davenport. So this is a good team. This is a dangerous team, 100%. I think they needed to get Irwin out, and they needed a new pitcher, and this is an upgrade in any terms of the word. I think even if they were to keep Caden Irwin and bring in a new pitching draft pick, that would have put him at 7 players, and I think that's definitely the line where it's too much to handle for a manager if you want everybody to show up. So with Jorgensen following up Robles, and then they go hit after each other in a lineup, followed by Tommy Coughlin, who can hit 6 bombs a season. I love it. Look out for the Midwest Mallards in 2024. All right, we are almost done here. 2 more teams. Almost. This might be the new longest episode MLW ball history. We got a lot to talk about here. All right, Pacific Predators. Very interesting team to talk about all the time. They are led by Ryan Crouch, a co-manager and a pitcher, the back-to-back MVP, followed by Alec Warda, who is the also other co-manager with Crouch, followed by Brendan Russell, Stephen McGlade, Rudy Ramirez, and their new rookie draft pick, Levi Fleer. The Preds have been following the same strategy to win games for 5 years, 4 years. And it worked really, really well when there were, 3 players a team. But recently, the Preds, made it to their World Series in 2019 after years and years and years of failure. Since then, it has been, they go on, a random streak every year, whether that's in the second half or that's in the first half or in the postseason. And then they'll always find themselves in the ALCS and then fall just short. So, you know what you're getting from Cratch. You know what you're getting from Warda and Russell and McGlade. And, well, hopefully Rudy Ramirez can switch some things up. But Levi Fleer, I think, is where this team gets really interesting because I hope that they turn to Fleer instead of McGlade Of course, we have not seen him pitch yet once. He could be terrible. But I think you need to give him the start over McGlade and just see how things go, because you know the Preds, right? It's this team's offense is games 1 and 3 are pretty hard to beat, because when Kratch pitches and then this offense, Kratch can go hit and he'll hit a home run, and then Warda will go, and then Russell will strike, then hopefully Ramirez can do something, and then game 2 is when it gets a little bit more tough, for who's going to be that number 2 arm, and that is ultimately why in this new age of MLW, why in the postseason this team doesn't have enough, and they haven't had enough for the past couple of years, is because they in the postseason, one pitcher can do the whole thing, and we've seen that work at some parts with Jimmy Nort. But when we got to the World Series, then Jonah, in that, I think there's a stat in the World Series that the Diamondbacks beat the Wildcats in 2021, said that Nort pitched 9 1/3 innings, and Jonah Heath pitched 8 2/3. I almost not even a full inning from each other, in terms of pitching, and then they ultimately won that. So you look at the Preds and you look at the Mallards, they don't have enough trust to put anybody else but Jordan Robles on there in a playoff series. The Predators, why would they not start anybody else but Ryan Kratch? That's a bad thing. Offenses can see them and they can get used to them, and then they end up losing. Fleer, that's why Jorgensen is a great pick for the Mallards. That's a guy that they can start over Jordan Robles in a Game 3 postseason elimination. I'm not saying Levi Fleer is that guy for the Predators. I'm saying he could turn into that. This is a good call from the Preds. I think if we see them consistently, they can be the best team in the league. I think kind of numbers and record-wise, just because of how tough the National League is for the Mallards. But this is a good call. I think they give Fleer a ton of reps. They let him grow into himself. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You move on, and you still go with McGlade, and you try to really work on Rudy Ramirez. This team is it feels pretty stale, of those 4, of Kratch, Warda, Russell, and McGlade. It's been the same thing for a couple years, and it felt a little stale. So I think it's really, they have had bad luck in drafts of taking players that Kyle likes, and they just end up can't make it. So hopefully that changes with Levi Fleer, and he can be a reliable arm for the Predators. So that's them. And the last team up here is the Western Wildcats, led by the greatest MLW player of all time, Kyle Schultz, the manager and the ace, followed up by Jackson Pearson, then Nick Saylor, Ty Smith, and then their 2 rookie draft picks, Patrick Ballman and Ty Frensnick. Cats, I mean, this is a team we're going to have to watch to know if they're good. Obviously, we have to say that this team is good right now because of the success that number 1 overall picks have had in the past. So we're going to have high expectations for Ballman because he's essentially the next Jordan Robles and Grant Miller-esque player. So I hope we get to see a lot of him early on. Of course, high hopes for Ty Fresnick as well. We'll see if Ty Smith, who Kyle has always been really excited about, he hasn't really had that one big moment for him yet. And I've talked, of course, early on about what I think about Nick Saylor and Jackson Pearson and Kyle Schultz with this team. So interesting. I want to see the Wildcats succeed too. All teams are really, really fun to watch when they're good. And when Nick Saylor is hitting home runs and Kyle Schultz is striking players out, and now with Ballman and Frensnick, the new kind of young guys in the league, it's an exciting time for the Wildcats in a couple year stretch that hasn't been super exciting for them since they lost back-to-back World Series. So obviously the big question is not only can they make it back to the World Series, but can they win it? Right? Because it's been years. Kyle says he wants a real World Series. Their last one was 2018, which was the first year of the Meadows era. So technically, it is essentially kind of a real World Series. But I think in my mind, that league of 2018 is so different, and that Wildcats team in 2018 would lose to any team in the draft era of MLW. So yapping over here. That was a big, full episode of MLW Vault, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've been kind of inconsistent with uploading here, but with the season right around the corner, we're going to get on our horse here. I have a whole week off of school now, so we are going to get a ton of stuff done here. we got a lot to talk about before the first Friday in May. We're going to do our full season predictions. We got to do our power rankings. We have to do our hot takes. We have to do playoff predictions. All of that is coming soon. So be sure to stay tuned. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already. Follow us on all of our podcasting stuff so you don't miss a single thing. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it is wiffle ball season. Bailyn signing off. I'll see you all next time.